Good morning, everybody. My name is Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. It's June 11th, 2024. Thanks so much for being with us today. And we have a special guest today, a good friend of mine, Jacob Hanson. Jacob is the CEO of PRP Group, which is an award-winning PR marketing intelligence firm that serves the education market, pre-K through workforce, and I want to explain that. While we talk to a lot of educators, we also work with the industry. And the industry in education is huge, providing all the products and services that educators use in pre-K-12. Jacob works with them to get their message out, to get their story told, him and his company, PRP Group, okay? And I have that linked over here. But they've started something new, and it's called Anonymous EDvisors. And this has a lot to do literally with administrators and school districts, okay, and how they can get their input put into, all right, all the products and services that are developed, research, created for the industry. So I'm really excited to have Jacob here to talk about Anonymous EDvisors. Get it? It's a pun, EDvisors. We're going to archive, get that link too, by the way, they have a website. We're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org. Check all that out for everything we do at our consortium for equity in education. I want to bring Jacob on right now. It's Larry Jacobs talking to Jacob Hanson. No S there. Hi, buddy. Good morning.
Larry, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you? How's life in Minnesota?
It's great. I think summer's here. It's here. It kind of shows up earlier some years and later some years, but we haven't seen snow in a little over a month, so we're good there.
Very good.
No,
okay.
Life is good, Mike. Yeah, absolutely. It's green and sun's shining. And
I think you were going to say something about your kids. What were you going to say? You started to say something a minute ago.
I don't know how everyone else listening, their school districts run, but we are still starting after Labor Day here in Minnesota, and so my kids just ended school last week.
Oh, wow.
I'd much prefer they start, go back earlier in the summer and get out sooner, but in any case, I'm just some guy.
Yeah, you're some guy who has his pulse on the industry. And, I got to say something. We're still in school here. We go back after Labor Day, to literally right after Labor Day, but your kids are already out?
Yeah. Well, I heard, isn't there something in the water up there in Maine, Larry? You guys need extra days?
There is. It's called Poland Spring. Okay? It's in the water. But thank you.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah,
I love it. What can I tell you? And Poland Spring, by the way, is right around here, just so you know. Okay? And they're stealing our water, but we won't get into that right now. Okay? We'll just move on from that little thing. Okay? It's good to have you here, my friend. Okay? First of all, I know Anonymous EDvisors is something we're going to talk about, but first of all, tell everybody about PRP Group, just so they understand what you do. Go ahead.
Sure, and I appreciate the opportunity. And actually, some of your listeners, I may, or my team members may have had the opportunity to work with them through some of the clients that we work with. But like you had so eloquently mentioned earlier, we exist to help shine a spotlight on the good work being done in schools and districts, or in the classroom across the country. And we do that usually through the work that we do with vendors. They hire us to work with their customers, tell those stories. But the folks that are listening, whether it's listening to Larry's show, you may pick up a magazine at District Administration, or you read Tech and Learning, or any of the other industry publications. That's a lot of the places where we help get those stories told and shine a spotlight on that. So we have the great fortune of getting to work with do-gooder companies that are trying to improve student outcomes, all that good stuff, and then also get to interact with educators, administrators that are really doing the good work every day. And it depends on what channels in the news and when you listen, I guess, that education's not doing great, but I get to hear the wonderful things and the miracles happening every day, and then help spread that news.
Well
so
said.
It's fun.
Well said. There are good things. And, as the old saw goes, everybody loves their own district. That's terrific, but it's every other district in America that really stinks. Okay?
That's
their district is just great. Yeah, that's standard across the board. Like everything, education can be improved. It's got its challenges all over. And actually, speaking of that, okay, you guys, PRP has been in existence for, 20 years now?
As far as the company goes, about a dozen, but the name, about 15, maybe closer to 20. Yeah, we've been around for a while. And, one of the things I think where you were going with this, Larry, that I've known in my 15 plus years working in education, it's just the authenticity that's needed. I just mentioned some publications and stories and things like that.
Yeah.
Folks need to pick that up, and they need to be reading words from their colleagues. They need to know that companies or publications or whoever's working in our space has taken the time and the effort to truly understand, what they're doing and why they're doing it and how, what help they might need. And so one thing that I've tried to do, I unsuccessfully most of the time, is work in active educators and administrators into the work that we do. We draft a lot of content. We have to, keep our fingers on the pulse of the industry, but also need to know a lot of different niches that, sometimes I can't keep up with AP chemistry at the same time I'm trying to keep up with what's going on in general with ESSER and all of that kind of stuff. And so over the years, I tried different ways to help bring companies, administrators together that was accessible and affordable, and that for both companies, accessible, many administrators can't due to conflict of interest, we're companies. So ultimately, we landed on what is now Anonymous EDvisors, and earlier this spring, we launched a platform to house the service that effectively lets administrators, have a side gig that allows them to interact anonymously with vendors that are really trying to do better. You mentioned some of the areas that they may try to do better, whether it's product development, product road mapping, some of those kinds of things. A lot of the other areas that we're hearing from companies as well is, is the social good we're doing good enough? Do you care? What about this messaging? Are we actually addressing the science of reading? Where do we fit in with your core curriculum? There's a lot of different things that are being asked that are, I think really smart that I'm seeing coming out of those interactions of folks trying to understand the landscape with ESSER funding ending.
Yeah, it's weird. And when you say anonymous, is it anonymous? Who's it anonymous to? And let me ask you this: Is it anonymous? Is it anonymous? Does the administrator that you're working with know what company he's dealing with? Does the company know the administrator that's giving them input? Okay, just talk about the word anonymous there. Okay, because what you said before, and I just have to say this: what you said before about an administrator helping a company could be construed as a conflict of interest. Okay, and I don't know why that would be. Maybe you want to explain that, but because I think that's important to get a professional input from the industry. But just explain the word anonymous and how it all works and what's going on, conflict of interest, whatever you want to say. Go ahead, Jacob.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So along that discovery process that I went through, I have clients that they want input from other administrators. And so a lot of them went to there's wonderful organizations out there that offer, larger panel type opportunities. There's a number I could name, RTM, Tech and Learning, the Dolly Summits. They all put on, fairly expensive events, but they're, they get you in front of administrators. But those administrators have it written into their contract that they're able to do those kinds of things. They're able to participate face-to-face with vendors. Their district is aware of it. It's in their contract that they can do that, and many of them can be compensated for that time. Of course, they still need to watch for conflict of interest, but they're allowed to do that. But that's a very small minority of administrators that do that. And those are the ones that make the time and want to go out and do those things, whereas someone like me, if I'm working, my butt off at my day job, to go out and try and scoop up a second job and make that work, I just may not want to do it. And there's so many limitations if they want to stay in education. So what this platform and what we did with the service was make it so that companies know the type of administrator they're working with. So if you were to go on the site that you have listed and you look at some of our sample Anonymous EDvisor cards, you may find like an assistant superintendent of curriculum from the Northeast. They have knowledge and expertise in these states. These are some of their specialty areas, their history, some of the areas they've spoken in, certificates they have or degrees that they have. So the administrator themselves is anonymous, and we're not providing enough information for a company to go out and find out exactly who they are.
Right.
And the company can elect to hire that anonymous advisor based on that anonymous data, or if they don't think it's a good fit, they can request another. Now, the anonymous advisor, the actual administrator, they are a contractor to my company. They sign a number of documents that we provide, guidance to go through their district to make sure that they can do this and all that kind of stuff. That, they agree to being anonymous. They agree to certain things so that we aren't sharing identity so we don't get in any issues. And we really coach them and help them with that. But it allows for them to then not have a conflict of interest with companies that they may interact with and then potentially need to, do business with down the road, or if their district is already doing business with them.
It's a good idea. So how have you found administrators over the last few years to do this, and how's it working out? Are a lot of them signing up to do this, or do they feel weird about it? But, you know.
So those are great questions. It's been a little bit all over the board as far as reactions to it, and it's the reactions have been predictable based on who I'm speaking with. A lot of the initial early adopter administrators that joined even before the platform was developed and we were doing this manually. They were a lot of friends and friends of friends. Over the years, I've developed some really strong relationships with some great administrators. And
by the way, let me stop you. Jacob is a very good guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. Okay, he's a good buddy of mine. Go ahead.
Thank you for
make that point.
Plug.
You're welcome, buddy.
You're
I know
you
have a big network. Yeah, you deserve it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And so, one of the beautiful things about the system, Larry, is that when administrators come in, we know they're busy, and they're not busy maybe at other times of the year, so they can turn their profiles on and off of whether or not they want to be hired. And so we have a few hundred administrators that are in there right now that range everything from, department chairs at the school level or principals to supers, assistant supers, directors of technology, CTO, CIO, CAO, kind of runs the gamut. And at any given time, all or a portion of them could be active accepting sessions. And if they're not, they just won't show up in searches by, companies going in there looking to book them, for sessions. And so they can pick when they want to work. They can also pick the jobs that they want to take. If they don't have time to do something or they don't like what they're being asked to do in a session, they can just reject it, and the system will move the company to the next advisor, or the next AE, anonymous advisor.
It's interesting. I got to tell you. And what is it? What does it look like? Are they calling these people and talking to them, or are they surveying them, or are they sending them the product to use? What are you finding? How's everybody using it?
Great question. So so this is again part of the journey that we you get one, right, Larry? You just used it up. And I think you got more shows after this, so they're in trouble. But anyways, so part of the process was going through that journey to figure out what actually needs to happen here. What is the interaction? What does the kind of the transaction need to look like between the company and the administrator, while also being conscious of the technology's limitations, the time, and what we're asking of folks to do. So currently, the sessions are asynchronous. So a company can go in, book a session, they submit, we call them questions. They don't really need to be, but you can submit questions, links, videos, any documentation you want. We have folks that submit recorded demos. We have folks that submit screen share videos to ask specific questions. And then currently the advisor, the anonymous advisor, can respond to those. I believe they get 3 to 5 business days. It usually comes back in a day or two, sometimes same day. But then they can respond to those in writing currently. We don't have the capability right now within the platform to offer a tool that's protected within that platform to do video, to do voice back over to the company. We are working to make that an option. So far, the feedback that we've gotten on results, that companies have gotten from the sessions they've run has been extremely positive. They have told us they prefer the written feedback and they would transcribe something that was in audio anyways, so that they're able to use that and pass it around and things along those lines. So when you log in, basically, if you're a company and you come in, it will prompt you to enter, what do you want to know? What are you trying to find out? What session are we trying to design here? And it will lay it out. We have some FAQs and some different resources in there to help ask good questions and to help formulate, unbiased questions or statements that you want them to react to. And then swipe your card and you're good to go. The anonymous advisor then gets a notification to let them know that the session's active. They will go in, and what they get is a dashboard that lays out, here's the theme of this interaction, here's the overarching goal of what we're trying to accomplish, and here are the 3, 4, 5, 6 different questions, statements, pieces of content, or whatever it might be that anonymous advisor is being asked to review, react to, or provide some specific feedback. Once they're completed, they submit. And, it kind of goes through the process. The company is notified, or whoever the main contact is. And then they have the ability to ask clarifying questions or follow-up questions based on what they get. And then once the session is complete, our payment system gets notified and a check is cut for the advisor, or the anonymous advisor.
Sounds good. Okay, and I have a question for you. When you've been using the word, and this is kind of an overall question in the industry, you've been using the word for administrators, okay? And a lot of teachers are listening. A lot of those teachers are going to become administrators, but that's besides the point, okay? And I know, and you know, that most of the companies out there do like, if I may, classroom teacher approval, Okay, they want the input of a classroom teacher. Does Anonymous EDvisors, are you looking to include teachers in this, or is it strictly at the district or school administration level? Where are we on that?
That's
the input
a
of
wonderful. All right, Larry, you're using up all your good questions.
I'm good.
Another really good
today.
one.
I'm good today. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, right. So you must have been
you.
drinking that Polish Springs water.
It's my super sauce. Ask Super Chicken. Remember him? It's my super sauce. Yeah.
You're distracting me, Larry. What's you
Teachers.
Administrators.
Teachers.
I got you.
Teachers.
So let me lead with this. Let me lead with this. That there was a time in my life I wanted to be a teacher.
Wait, let me say, I know you guys love teachers and you work with them all the time, but I'm curious about in this particular, the way the industry looks at it.
So when the pandemic hit, it doesn't matter how you feel about it, administrators were just getting beat up from every angle, internally, externally, parents, school boards, everybody was after them. And the way I saw it was teachers had a lot of outlets, and there were a lot more teachers. They can commiserate. They can, they have PLCs or they have community already where a lot of administrators didn't. And so that was the idea at first was I'm watching these administrators resign, and we don't have like a second guard here. Like we need time for the next generation of leaders to develop.
That's right.
But they're leaving,
That's right.
and so I thought, what can we do? How can we help keep these folks in while they're getting beat up in their day job? Can we do something that brings them joy, something that they can earn an extra buck and put a smile on their face? That, if they maybe were a librarian before they became a curriculum director, we can find them a gig that would put that librarian muscles to work. So that was the idea. And that at the time, I also knew that with where companies were at, they wouldn't pay for teacher feedback. They could get it from their users, those kinds of things. So it was partially a business decision at the time. I also knew that teachers had a lot more gig opportunities out there. Teachers pay teachers and things along those lines where they could earn extra cash. And so teachers listening, I love you, and we will get there. I promise. Right now, where we're able to make the best matches based on what the market need is on folks that touch more than one classroom. Now, where we have had very specific requests are specialty teachers. So we have a lot of literacy teachers that are being requested, just given legislation being passed around, science of reading across the country.
Right.
We're being asked for, department chairs for different levels. So while those are classroom teachers, they may have an elevated level of responsibility. We have asks for school level like tutor coordinators, instructional tech coordinators. So I would still encourage you to submit, and come and check it out. And if it's something you want to try, please do it.
Good.
And as you advance, we're here. You just never know what companies are going to request. We don't tell them, sorry, no, you can't have a teacher. What we may say is, we just don't have a good fit for this exact request. You may need to come back later. Or the system would suggest, here's the closest we can get. If you don't want to do this, then you don't have to book this. So the company has the decision to hit book and pay for the session.
Right.
They know who their anonymous advisor is. And so,
exactly.
We will get there. The other challenge, Larry, and this is more of a technical thing, that because I invited friends and family and I asked my friends to invite their friends and family, the platform we built, I really needed to make sure it didn't break on them, and I created a good experience as best as I could. And not saying that millions of teachers would have found this more attractive, there was a chance of a higher volume of traffic that the system I wasn't sure if it could support. And so as we were able to scale, right now we can deliver an almost unlimited number of sessions, concurrently on the platform that we have.
Oh, good.
Now that we know we can do that, we can keep moving into more areas. The focus for us right now, though, is really trying to expand the number of focus areas that can be queried by companies and that administrators can kind of express as either areas of expertise or areas of passion. We want to make sure that just because someone has a job description, like I mentioned earlier, of that curriculum director, if they miss being in the library or they miss being an instructional technology coordinator, they can list that as an area of expertise or an area of passion.
Exactly.
Then they will show up in queries, they will show up, and they can be chosen, by companies, for a session.
Right, and every administrator was a teacher. They're going to bring that background into this. Obviously, they're working with that every single day. Okay, so it just makes sense. I just wanted to ask that question. Well, you just brought up something interesting. There may not be a match and all that. Where do you see I want to ask this the right way, the industry right now? Okay, education, pre-K-12. Okay, where is it going? Where how do I want to say this? What industries, what section of the industries are you working with? Where's the industry looking to go over the next couple of years? Okay, do you see any difference from what's been, STEM, social studies, that sort of thing?
That's a big question, Larry. So it makes sense. It's a really big one. So let me see how I can answer that. I was in a conversation a few months ago, and so I can't attribute who said this, but it was a very smart administrator that I was speaking with that made the point that education is a forever institution, really regardless of what happens. And so I've kind of centered some of my beliefs about what's happening in education and what's going to happen around that it just can't end, or it can't fall apart completely. It's here to stay. And I have the benefit to work with companies as well as school districts. And so through those lenses, I get to see pockets of miracles, like I mentioned earlier, happening all the time. And so I believe that we're going to keep seeing more and more of that student-centered, real world, hands-on, critical thinking, problem-solving type, learning, whatever style that might be. There's a number of different ways to go about it. But I see things continually shifting that way. I hope that the momentum that, non-traditional four-year degrees has gained will continue. As somebody with a bachelor's degree, I know I could be employed at every job that I've been employed at with a certificate of skills or job experience. I didn't need that diploma. And so I truly believe that, some of the movements we're seeing to push STEM further and further into, younger ages and teaching kids skills that, it's not how to do something, it's how to think about something or how to solve something. I hope that the momentum continues that way. As a person who probably is going to continue hiring for the rest of my professional career, I desperately want folks that have, developed those skills. So that's my hope. But again, I'm just some guy, Larry.
Yeah, you're better than some guy. I'll tell you. You do have great and you do have great insights into this stuff. And the reason I'm asking that, and let me give it a little. You had said before about things change. Education's here, but it takes different forms. All right. And for example, okay, and I'm looking at it up on the website here, but just a few minutes ago, okay, an hour ago, I interviewed a company that you work with, which is called iTeach. Okay. Mm-hmm. iTeach, yeah, and they were just guests on the show, and that's alternative certification for educators. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, and they're doing a good job. They're putting people in there that really want to teach, and they're doing it quickly. All right, so education's here, but things change. Education, schools change. Okay, now I'm looking on your website here, and I'm looking at the case study you have, which is KinderLab. Okay, mm-hmm. And KinderLab, they got robotics products, but that changes. Things change all the time, and I just want you to explain how KinderLab, okay, used your company, Anonymous EDvisors, okay, EDvisors, to get a better understanding of their buyers. Just talk about that for a second. Use your case study.
Sure. And I'm going to do my best to make sure I'm not digging in anything that's not shared in the case study. For those of you that are not familiar,
we just want what's out there public. Okay, don't worry about it.
This is their secrets. These are their secrets. Yeah. I got to be even more careful.
You have it on the web. I'm looking at it here on the web. I'm asking you to explain it. Good. Yeah.
No, totally understand. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with KinderLab Robotics, they're primarily a non-screen coding and STEM robotics provider for early elementary, K-5. And as part of what they were looking for is where and how does their product fit into market? How are they messaging around that, and how do they better reach, decision makers with the right message? They also had asked more product focused type questions, and one of their sessions they were able to get one of the STEM coordinators they worked with to actually demo their product in the classroom with teachers that the Anonymous EDvisor worked with students, those kinds of things. That was a logistical nightmare, so we don't offer that option right now because it's a physical thing that we had to get there. So I don't even want to get into that, but that's something we learned the hard way, that we're going to have to figure out a better way than the way that we did it. So in any case, so they had a number of different needs, and they're they're a smaller company, which I think in education, a lot of really cool, innovative things that are making an impact in the classroom are coming out of those smaller companies. And so they were looking for ways they can't compete in other areas with big brand names, but they have better solutions, better options. And so where and how can they compete? And so I think that was really at the foundation of what they were doing is we have something that is helping our customers. We need to find a better way to help others when we can't stand up against, some of the, the huge deep pockets that these bigger companies have.
Exactly.
And so, I think it's an undertone that we see and I'm not privy to every session, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm reviewing everything here. There are sample sessions that we're choosing to evaluate, make sure everything's working well, all that good stuff. So please don't think that I'm reviewing every session content. But those fit questions are really more of what we see as far as the majority goes. It's not a, should I be doing this or that? It's, I know that I should be doing this. Should I be talking about it this way or that way? What's being discussed at your cabinet meetings? How is this being talked about? What's a good per pupil or a pricing model that I should be thinking about changing to, given funding changes that are happening in your world, right now? So that's a lot of what we've been seeing, more recently.
That answers the other question. That answers the other question. This is important. Education, for a long, long time, was fully dominated by the huge, giant companies. Okay? And a lot of them did and do great work. Okay? But teacher entrepreneurs, educator entrepreneurs, okay, STEM entrepreneurs have come up with products that make sense for educators, pre-K-12, all right? But they don't know where to go with it, okay? And they need the input of the industry beyond just their buddies, okay? And that's why what you're offering is so important, because once these companies get a little foothold, okay, they can start getting the word out and getting the products out to kids, to educators. And that, in the end, is going to make all the difference in the world, okay? Because there's so many good ideas, and a lot of them come from people involved in education, but they got to be able to get it out there. And that's what this allows them to do, is get the information necessary to do it. I mean, that's where I think this is all going. What do you think?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you noticing that. We have, some of the interesting things we see have folks booking multiple sessions at a time, that they're booking sessions with 3 different types of administrators or 3 different types of their personas. So they may be going with their primary buyer, an influencer, and then an end user, or whatever the case may be. And it's all the same theme, the same questions. They're just altered for that role. And so, like, we have one that I've been watching just because of the multiple session. I want to make sure it's running well and everything like that, that it's been variations of that going through, so that they're getting a full picture painted of, a full cycle of how their product is going to be evaluated, purchased, used, and then evaluated for renewal before ever even selling into, a school district. They have this particular company has a new product that has a new audience. And so that's what they're trying to understand. So in any case, it's been really neat seeing how those have evolved. And they've been doing it kind of through their R&D cycle. So I believe it's been going on for a handful of months now, where they've run 2, 3, 4 sessions at a time, use that information to inform or confirm development decisions, and then come back with more.
Right. It's really cool. And one last question, Jacob. Everybody, you mentioned this earlier. I know the companies, you know them too. They gather together superintendents, and they let a company present to a group of 5 or 10 superintendents. Company pays dearly for the opportunity to get input. Okay, but superintendents turn over a lot. A, okay, and the position, and B, okay, there are other administrators out there, and I'm curious, okay, as you put this all together, what administrators, what level of administration, I don't know how to say this, are the companies looking for? And to me, it's important to get the input of the school administrator, not so much, as much as, if I may, not so much, as much as the district administrator. Because if the school administrator doesn't like the product, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay? Believe me.
Sure.
Okay? Yeah, so who are they looking for? Just out of curiosity, because I hope that we get some people to get in touch with you, okay, who are, in fact, administrators. But at what levels? What are the companies looking for right now? Who are the companies looking for?
Absolutely. And I've got great things to say about those other organizations, the events they put on. I've attended most. Yeah. I've put them in front of clients. they're just not accessible for everybody from actually physically getting there or being able to afford it. But
Right.
I've watched my clients build their companies on some of those events, so I know how effective they can be in many different regards. Right now, we're getting requests that really run the gamut. You can assume that they line up pretty accurately with where things fall within the school day, or the school year. The core curriculum topics, where specifically right now it's administrators in curriculum leaning in literacy. And so literacy given, I mentioned earlier, science of reading and things like that. And so curriculum has been in really high demand. That's all the way from CAO or assistant superintendent of curriculum to director, all the way down to, either district or school curriculum coordinators. We have specific requests for folks that are at the classroom level, lesson planning with teachers, and the same company is asking for that assistant super or, curriculum director making the decision. Technology, again, it's every level. The higher levels, it's more of the how do we get past your checklist? How do we make, because the technology directors or leadership, for the most part, aren't the end buyers for most of the products. They're just the veto power because it doesn't work with something they've got or whatever the case may be. And so that's how we're seeing a lot of the senior technology leadership being asked, how does this integrate? What SSO systems are you using? And some of those kinds of things where, we may be getting more requests for the instructional ed tech folks of, again, are you lesson planning? What does that look like? How are you integrating these things? What would a supplemental resource like this look like in that lesson planning? Would your teachers like this and that kind of stuff? So really, wherever you're at, it's worthwhile to come. We are marketing, these sessions. We are putting things out there that let folks know the types of administrators that we have. So, right now I would say where I've been surprised that I have ventured to guess it will pick up later this year has been special education. That's been an area that we have not been able to we have not been able to get as many administrators in special education to join as we have in other kind of primary areas that you can think of within a school district. The superintendent level and all the others I've mentioned. But so if any special education folks out there are listening, there are companies that really want your input. So come on over and visit us and see if you might be the right fit to help them out.
Have you been in touch with CASE, with CASE, CASE?
I have not about this at least, no.
Do it. Okay, that's the Council of Administrators of Special Education. That's Phyllis Wolfram's group.
And part of this, Larry, is, some of this is timing with, we just launched this platform like 2 months, 6 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah,
and
takes
so,
time.
Yep, so it does. And I also want to be cautious of the fact that I want everyone to have a good experience, and, that kind of thing. And so I truly believe that this will keep growing organically.
Oh, it will.
And as I make sure, that we're, expanding behind the scenes, then we're able to scale into speaking with larger organizations about, we'd love to form those types of partnerships that were just something they can offer their members. I just want to make sure before I do that we could handle all their members.
Good for you, man. I got to tell you, this is great. And I hope a lot of people get in touch with you. Jacob, this is a good idea. It's going to go places. Thanks, buddy.
Well, I appreciate you, Larry. Thanks for the time. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Okay, have a good enjoy the summer with the kids. What can I tell you? All right?
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. That's Jacob Hanson. Okay, I got everything linked here. Check it out. Please do it. Okay? That's a great company. Okay? It's Anonymous EDvisors, which is part of the PRP Group. Everything's linked. All right, we're going to archive at ace-ed.org, and I thank you so much for listening. My name's Larry Jacobs. Have a good day.